Welcome back, everyone. Now we're going to listen to Caleb Adepitan, sharing his all-round experience working with Debian. Thank you, Caleb.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And it's a privilege being here speaking to you all, although the stage looks bigger than it is sitting as an audience. So I don't know why I signed up to give a 45-minute talk when I don't think I have that much to say. But I just thought I would come with some African jokes, to turn the hand of the clock without you all noticing. But the jokes were scared to fly. Anyhow, yeah, that's it. They were scared to fly. So what I'm going to say is it is impossible to experience Debian as a software without completely experience Debian as a software without experiencing Debian as a contributor. And it's also impossible to experience Debian as a contributor without experiencing Debian as a community. So I believe it's all intertwined together. So first of all, I joined Debian, and I've known about Debian before in past years, but I really don't know much about Debian, and I never got to use Debian. I've been using Windows all the time. So I joined Debian as an Outreachy intern, although at the time I was deliberating to go for the Mozilla project, but thanks to the influence of Tunji, I joined Debian. So, and it had been a beautiful experience all along, working together with Pravin, which was my mentor, and Akshay Dinesh, although Akshay Dinesh was majority of the time not always around, so Pravin was my mentor. And it's beautiful that now he's the one holding the camera. So, in the period of my work at Debian, I did some little things. Initially, started with contributing to some packages that already existed in Debian. And that was a contribution period which was required to get accepted into the Outreachy internship. And I did. I think I wasn't initially able to wrap my head around the whole Debian thing, and I found it difficult to initially get anything done. And I think majority of my contributions during that period was in the last week of the deadline to the contribution period, and I think I did about 3 packages, although the last one was WIP. And given that, together with Ayomika, we worked on the Webpack 5 transitioning, taking Webpack 5 from the experimental, which is not a standard Debian repository, taking it from experimental to unstable. As we know, Debian only maintains one version of the software at any point in time, except it is really necessary to maintain 2 versions, which is much work. So at the period, Webpack 4 was the major version in unstable, and Webpack 5 now being a new version and a major release, we all know there was going to be breaking changes between dependent softwares that made use of Webpack 4. They won't all go well with Webpack 5, so that was established. And so Webpack 5 at the moment was in experimental, and we had to work to reverse build dependencies of Webpack 5 to make sure that all the softwares that worked well with Webpack 5 all the softwares that worked well with Webpack 4 will work well with Webpack 5. And as I also know, it is the work of whoever is doing the transitioning to make sure that all reverse dependencies builds fine and works fine with the software being transitioned. So what really is transitioning? I believe most of us here know what transitioning is, because, well, still I'm going to explain that. Transitioning majorly is taking a software from, because as I said earlier, only one version of the software is being maintained. So if Webpack 4 is the current version, then Webpack 5, which is a new software being released, a new version of the software being released, is going to be transitioned from one repository to the other. Although experimental is not a standard repository, and the major repositories in Debian are the unstable repository, the testing repository, and the stable repository. The current stable, which is Bullseye Debian 11, and the testing, which is Bookworm Debian, which should be Debian 12 when it gets into the stable release. Unfortunately, funny enough, I think the unstable repository is the only one with a stable code name, SID seed. Okay, and all this, I was made to know this during my period at the internship, under the mentorship of Pravin and other IRC members. And it was a beautiful experience working together with my co-intern, Mika. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it here, but it was all beautiful experience. She was a very diligent one, and she inspired me to even work most of the times. When I check the mailing list and then I see her name, she has done this, she has done that, it gives me difficult to also want to work. So that was beautiful. And although I found it hard to navigate the weekly during the internship to learn a couple stuff, because the weekly was very large and it's expected for a software as big as Debian. It was a very large weekly. Things were not easily accessible. Sometimes it is Pravin that sends links to some things that we should read up about. And I'm always just like, how does he know the exact link to check for this? But I believe he has spent a long time in Debian, so that's fine. So given all that, I think if the weekly can be, well structured and well presented, well arranged in a way that they are easily accessible and easily navigable, that would be fine also, and that would help the experiences of people who are coming newly to Debian. Okay. Aside that, I think it is also necessary that sorry, I should have been moving through the slides. Sorry. So, setting up my environment, I run Debian on a VirtualBox, which I had to download the OS image and set up the environment. Although at the time, I didn't really know what a lot of things I was going to be using was, and I really had no idea of what they were until later into the internship, where I was able to learn a few things by Pravin explaining them, sending links to wikis and everything. And majority of the time like that, when Pravin explains this thing, and I tell him, oh yeah, I understand now, he was going to tell me to go to the wiki and then update the wiki with what I have just learned and I say I understand. So, and I believe that help other people also who will be coming newly to Debian, and they will be able to learn from the knowledge of people who have come before them. And that way, I believe the wiki gets growing also. So, my first contribution, Lynchian, was almost drove me mad. A lot of errors, looking at a lot of errors and not knowing how to fix them. I think at the end of the day, my first contribution, it was Yak that did majority of the Lynchian fix for me, and it just gave me a link to learn how to fix majority of those issues. The worst problem you can have is not knowing what to ask when you have a problem, and which is almost like not knowing what your problem is. And in the period of the internship also, given that the wiki is very large and not easily accessible, I believe blogs were also helpful. And one of the blogs that were helpful was Abraham Raji's blog, which helped with learning how to update a package, how to create a package in Debian and everything. So that was one blog that really stood out, and it really is an inspiration that as we learn along and whatever we do, we should always talk about it more often and then blog about it, which is very important for those who are coming behind us. And when we met Abraham Raji at this conference, he didn't even know that his blog has done this much, and when we were going to tell him that it was his blog that helped us to really learn a few stuffs, he was surprised. So we updated a few packages during the contribution period and hoped for the best. Yeah, I think I've explained the Debian release cycles and Webpack 5 transitioning, reporting bugs to FTBFS bugs to BTS, fixing bugs and getting Webpack 5 to unstable from experimental, although we couldn't complete the whole project then, which we should have done Node.js 16 also, transitioning to unstable. But I think that's all done now and it's fine. Everything is unstable now. I interacted with a couple community members also, and I interacted with Pravin, which was my mentor, with Yad, and then some other IRC members. I think that goes by the name Gagatuaka. I don't know if that's right. And Jonas also, I interacted with Jonas because the first package I did, which had Jonas as the maintainer, was, I can't really remember the package. And Jonas was like, he didn't take it cool like me sending an RFS. He wanted me to send a patch, and although at the time I didn't really understand him, I was like, why does he want a patch? Everyone wants an RFS. So from there, we got going along together. We had a meeting where we talked over one of his video conferencing app, and it was a great one. It was a very beautiful one. So those were majorly the interactions I had with community members until now at the DebConf, meeting other people like Raju, with Cash, and in fact, everyone in person, because I've never met anyone in person except Tunji, which is not a Debian developer. Yeah, so I think that's basically it, and it was a very good experience all along. I just believe Debian can improve in wikis and how they communicate things that need to be known about Debian. That's just my belief. Thank you very much.
Speaker. Thank you very much, Caleb. That was so helpful, and I think it's a common experience to us. Questions?
Hi, I came to your talk to hear an African joke.
Well, as I said...
Hi.
Yeah?
Yes, I came to your talk to hear an African joke.
Well, as I said, I was going to bring the African jokes, but they were scared to fly, so none of them is here. Any other questions? Well, since you all laughed to that, I think one found the courage to fly then.
So if I hear you correctly, your biggest value was meeting one-to-one and reading people's personal blogs, but your biggest frustration is the website and the wiki? Yeah,
the wiki, I believe, is aesthetically, although every wiki is like that, aesthetically they're not very good, and probably psychologically it may not really enable you in how you read them and everything. So you won't want to read something that is not well displayed, and they are not easily navigable. I mean, if I was going to find something on the wiki, I don't know how to get to it except I do a Google search, which would make me I would have to know what I'm looking for to do a Google search and then find wherever.
I agree with you so much. Do you have any ideas on how to improve that?
Well, it's going to be a lot of work improving the wiki because Debian is a very large project and the wiki has grown really large even before, I don't know, probably before I was born, the wiki has been. So, I mean, it's the collective work of everyone. Praveen always had me update the wiki also with whatever things I learned as I worked on, which is part of improving the wiki also. And I think if it continues like that, we can all get it to the point where it needs to be.
Fabulous. More questions?
Hi, Caleb. I just want to get an idea of, because you usually listen a lot of free software community news and events happening around the world, but very rarely from Africa. I just want to know how big are things in, let's say, Lagos or in Nigeria, and in future, what kind of... So I just want to know basically how much, what is the size of the community, maybe some statistics, or what kind of events happen there, or is there like any free software organization which is nationwide, something like FSF or something like that happening in there? So yeah.
I can't really say there are free software organizations around in Nigeria or probably Africa generally, but I know there are free software communities. Not as big as organizations, but there are communities, and some of them are probably even targeted towards women, like She Code Africa and some other ones, which encourages open source contribution and everything. So, and I think so far, this DebConf, it has been proposed a lot that we try and bid for a DebConf in Nigeria, although that may be quite hard to do, but we are giving it some considerations. Given the three of us from Africa, we will try and expand the Debian community across Africa with the help of you all.
I think that needs an applause. We'll definitely help you.
Yeah.
More questions? All right. Well, thank you very much, Caleb. That was great. Another round of applause.
Thank you very much.